Hello and welcome to Campaign Chronicles, France 24's regular countdown to the presidential election. We're now 23 days away from the first round. And I'm joined by our French politics editor, Mark Perelman, and our media editor, James Creedon, who'll be dropping in later with the reactions in the press. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Mark, today saw a battle over economic figures between the two main contenders.
Yes, absolutely. We've had lots of debates, controversies about terrorism, security, immigration over the last few days. But today we had a battle of figures and back to the economy and bread and butter issues, which are the most on the mind of French people. According to all the polls, this is what they worry about: employment, growth, housing, education, you name it. And this morning, the president, Nicolas Sarkozy, himself announced some good news, saying that the deficit had decreased and is now 5.2% of the French GDP instead of a forecast of 5.7%. And clearly, this was welcome news for Nicolas Sarkozy.
We did a lot better than what was expected. This proves that with controlling your spending and with reforms, we can make it. There's one country in Western Europe, only one, that since the second quarter of 2009 has not experienced a recession, and that is France. There's one country which since 2007, its purchasing power has increased each year, and it is France. And it increased again last year.
So the president is eager to convey this image that he's protecting France and that this is working and that the crisis of the euro is behind us. However, the socialists clearly beg to defer. They agree with that figure. However, they say there's another more important figure that came out today, and that's a rather negative one. It's the public debt, which grew to a record high 5.7% of GDP. And so they fired a statement, their top economist, saying that, well, this is really the figure we should worry about. And this is something that Nicolas Sarkozy should be blamed for. So clearly, again, economic, social issue, you choose the figure you like and you promote it. And that's the way politics work.
It's not quite the same view of the economy on their left or the right wing. Well, while the main rivals are arguing over numbers, far-right leader Marine Le Pen was in Nice today, Mark, hoping to give some fresh momentum to her campaign. Valérie Labonne and Clovis Casali, our reporters, met with National Front supporters to try and understand why they're more committed than ever, hoping for Le Pen to do well.
6 months ago, Marine Le Pen was here in Nice for a major National Front rally. This town in the southeast of France is a right-wing stronghold, and her far-right party has always enjoyed very good results in Nice and in the region. But since her last visit, Marine Le Pen has struggled to remain high in the polls. Far-left leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon is more than ever a serious contender for third place. So Marine Le Pen is on a mission to win back voters. All day, her supporters have been handing out leaflets calling for the people of Nice to attend her rally. We followed some of them.
Bonjour la prom! Grand meeting ce soir de Marine Le Pen, Palais de l'Acropolis à 20h.
You're a new party member. What pushed you to join the National Front?
I live in a project, not a dangerous one, but let's say I feel less at home and I think something needs to be done. This was to be expected.
The problem is that today we find ourselves with an immigration where 20 persons come and only one works.
Following the killings in Toulouse and Montauban, all candidates are very much addressing the issue of terrorism. National security has always been a key theme for the National Front. According to Marine Le Pen, immigration is a direct threat for France, and her supporters here in Nice agree with her.
So Marine Le Pen, her rally just finished tonight, and she again attacked the establishment, political parties, trade unions. She even announced that she would reestablish mandatory military service for boys and for girls for a short period of time. Earlier today, she also called for an organization called the Union of Islamic Organizations in France to be barred here in France, and she is surfing on the Toulouse tragedy because the government just announced that the annual rally of this organization, which is to be held on April 6th. There were some Islamist preachers which were supposed to come. The government barred 4 of them to come. And this shows how things have shifted, because some of those preachers were in France as recently as this December. And back in 2003, Nicolas Sarkozy, who was then interior minister, actually attended the meeting of this organization and helped this organization become part of a Muslim umbrella group here in France. So clearly, we see a big shift in how this is being dealt with. Nicolas Sarkozy compared what happened to a small 9/11, which created some controversy, but clearly there is a shift in the way things are being done. And we saw also a crackdown on alleged Islamists today in France with 19 arrests.
On alleged Islamist networks. So this has really been taking center stage in the campaign as well. Next, it's time for Faces and Places, our weekly rendezvous with French voters. Now, France may be one of the world's biggest tourist destinations, but life is hard for some hoteliers. They're caught between keeping their prices low to attract clients, even as their costs keep rising, especially if they want to buy French.
Sylvie looks after her customers. 5 years ago, she became this hotel's manager. Her clientele is mainly made of salespeople, but she is feeling the effect of the economic crisis. In the last few years, the hotel's occupancy rate has plunged by 20%.
We've decided not to increase our prices in order to remain competitive, mainly according to our clientele's travel expenses budget. But in the meantime, our expenses keep rising. So we can't afford to hire a new employee, although we would very much like to.
When it comes to her hotel's renovations, Sylvie's budget is tight. Yet when she buys furniture for the bedrooms, she tries to buy French products, even though they are more expensive than imported goods.
We recently replaced all our mattresses and beds, and the new ones we picked were made locally. It was important for us to do as such. It helps keep local jobs. And I would preferably vote for someone who tries to save our local industry.
Sylvie works alongside her husband Thierry. They're currently filling out a form to be registered under a new European hotel rating system. Every French hotel manager has to do so before July. For this couple, it represents an opportunity to turn their no-star hotel into a one-star hotel.
We're asking for a one-star hotel rating, which, in my view, matches our hotel's quality.
We ask for 1 star because the hotel next door is a 2-star hotel, and tactically it is better to become complementary to one another. Each of us has a clientele, and I don't want to lose my clients to him. We also have to choose our rating carefully, since the foreign clientele really cares about this, in contrast with French people.
Sylvie and Thierry work hard, at least 75 hours a week. In 2012, they've decided to try something new, to go away together on holiday.
Now let's take a look at how internet users have been reacting in this day of campaigning. James Creedon has the latest on this.
That's right, Lana. Just to pick up on a point that Mark was making earlier, and we were looking at it in Media Watch a while ago about reactions to Nicolas Sarkozy comparing the trauma of 9/11 with the trauma of what happened in Toulouse and Montauban. Just some reactions to that. If I could find where I'm going here, the Daily Mail in the UK just reported that as is. They didn't seem to be in any way shocked by what Nicolas Sarkozy said, and he did qualify that comparison. He did say, it's only a little bit like, and
the traumas are similar.
That's right. He compared more the trauma than the events. One person here saying that there was a degree of exaggeration. Unsurprisingly, Jean-Luc Mélenchon saying that it's disproportionate. What he said is disproportionate. And another person pointing out that we're in a pre-electoral period and that perhaps, like Bush, Sarkozy is maybe playing on fears a little bit in order to be re-elected. Anyway, that's just some of the tweets. So
capitalise on tragedy.
That's right. So there are a lot of criticisms online, but not a huge amount because he was careful in how he expressed what he expressed.
One issue we're looking at today is the fact that in France, media are by law required to give all candidates equal airtime. And that means minor candidates have just as much airtime as the major ones.
That's right. And indeed, a lot of media are finding that very difficult to deal with. It means that they have to, for example, some of the smaller candidates like Jacques Cheminade, they put out interviews with them overnight so as not to use up prime time television spots. So it's creating some frustration, but a very egalitarian law, it must be said. But some people a little bit frustrated with that and saying that they would rather not waste 5 minutes of their lives, having to talk to Jacques Cheminade when there are other more important candidates. A very quick nod to a slightly bizarre poll or study that came out today.
Today. It's been buzzing a lot in the newsroom and outside the newsroom.
The sexual habits of the population based on how they vote. So very, very quickly, the people who have most sex vote far right. They vote Front National.
that's the bottom line.
Exactly.
Right.
Lots more on it. You can Google it if you really want the details.
A bit worrisome, but there are lots of juicy details on
Absolutely.
there. James Creedon, thanks very much for being with us. Mark Perlman, our politics editor on France 24. Thank you for being with us at home and watching Campaign Chronicles on France 24.